Welcome to the stream. Uh, Christopher, how are you doing, bro?
What up? What up? I'm all good, man. All good. Life is good. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, sir. Amen. That's what we love to hear. Um, so today what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be doing a bit of a power ranking. Honestly, I feel like I would want to make this like I can't really say a weekly thing because I'm gonna be like really busy starting next week, but like at least I don't know, maybe like once every like 2-3 weeks, just to see where we're at with the European football landscape.
Mm.
Um, at the moment, things are looking very interesting. Your Reds lost to Plymouth. Everton game was looking spooky, even though I know obviously the refs had a few um, things that they did to make it that way. Barcelona finally starting to find some form again. Madrid's looking tricky. Bayern Munich, even though they keep winning, their defense looking tricky as well. Like where do you see the whole European landscape at right now?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. There's a couple of teams in and around the same level, and on any given day they can kind of beat each other. Just kind of depends on who plays better on the day, which superstar rises on the day. Because that's the thing about like knockout footy, just projecting for Champions League. That if we get into it, that's the thing about knockout footy. It's like it's only 2 games. It's not 38 games. So you have to have the best night on the night. And when you watch when you watch like league formats, there's not a single player who's great every single game, and that's like the difference between knockout football and league football. So it's like when you're looking at the best teams head to head, part of it is luck that you just happen to play well on that day. Another part of it is desire and that fire in your belly to like refuse to lose on that day. It's kind of like, and this is kind of veering away from it a little bit, but when you look at it as a human being, like outside of sports, as a human being, sometimes you just don't feel like going through the motions of the day. Other days you feel great. I think that applies to sports as well. That like
I completely agree.
sometimes you just feel amazing, and that's why things are just working, and other days you just kind of don't.
So, and you are completely right about that. And I do think that's why it's always so interesting to have, the two juxtaposing competitions because you really get to see the full scope of what, a team can handle in terms of, that like kind of um, marathon of the league versus the, bursts and sprints of a Champions League setting.
Mm.
And so what I wanted to do for this power ranking is basically just to give like kind of a good mixture of both, just to see in terms of where these teams are at and how they're doing in both their domestic and European um, campaigns at the moment. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to kind of go through the list and we're just going to talk about because especially because it's kind of hard to do these because since we're already in February, we already have like kind of the biases from what the clubs were that started off well that aren't doing as well now. So what they were doing versus teams that maybe didn't have the best start but are starting to rise more in the middle of the season. So kind of just having to like marry those two concepts together and see what we think these teams can cook up. So um, we're gonna get started on the list. Also, just honestly ignore like the teams towards the bottom. They're not really gonna be relevant for what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, we're just gonna go through this as the images state right here. So I'm not gonna make it too complex. So we're gonna start with AC Milan. What do you think about them at the moment? Obviously, they just changed their manager.
Mm.
Um, I think they believe they won the Italian Super Cup. They currently just lost to Feyenoord 1-0. Just got João Felix, one of my favorite players of all time. So yeah, how are we feeling with them?
I always think that it's a worrying sign when a fan base is excited that they're signing João Felix. I think it's worrying because it's like it speaks to the pre-existing talent that's already there, and for you to think a guy like Felix is going to change fortunes, and I think that just sums up AC Milan's season so far. They've been pretty poor. There's a reason why their coach got sacked. Who was it? Paulo Fonesca, right? I think
Yes,
that was
yes.
him.
One second,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you see I even have their kind of what they've been doing in the league pulled up right now too, if you're able to see it. So it's very
Yeah.
funny because their defense has been decent. It's mainly been their attack that's been the issue.
Mm.
Like they have right now in the league the seventh best attack, which obviously especially you look at the amount of money they spent, not even this season but the season prior. Because I have a friend that's a Milan fan, and I told him that I was expecting a league push last year, and obviously they weren't able to do that. And then now this year they're doing even worse at the moment, given their league position. And I think one of the things that stands out to me is the fact that usually, when you associate like the bigger teams in the league, you are going to associate them with having lots of possession. So the fact that their attack is somewhat only above average, and their possession stats even reflect that as well, I do think is a bit interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I read, and I still want to finish this because a guy linked an article to this. But I read a tweet about a guy kind of suggesting this idea that offense versus defense in soccer/football, and
Mhm.
what is actually the greatest, not only greatest balance that you should have to be successful, but also what is the greatest asset that leads to success? Is it an elite defense with an average attack, or is it an elite attack with an average defense? And based off of case studies, what does each and collectively, what do they all lead a team towards success? And I was reading through it, and it's very interesting. I already had this. I'm going to call it bias because it's just what I've always believed, and it's what I prefer and what I enjoy. I've always believed and enjoyed and preferred that offense is the most valuable thing that a team uh, can consist of. Your offense is your most valuable trait, and if you have a good offense, that will lead you further than just having a good defense in a
But you know what I
vacuum.
would,
So I'm not.
I would say though, just to contest that a little bit, I feel like this also goes back to what we were just talking about in terms of the league versus tournament format. I think that in a tournament format, that having that good offense is more valuable, right? Because at the end, it's just about winning the game in front of you at the moment, to advance.
Mm.
Because the thing with offense is offense is more valuable in terms of actually winning the game, but defense, a good defense is going to typically be more consistent, right, over like a long stretch of time, right? Because like you look at the offensive play, like any offensive player, right? Like if they miss like 3 shots and then they score the fourth one, they get a goal. That's still considered to be an efficient offensive player, right? Whereas if a defender is like missing like half of their tackles or whatever, like you're going to look at that defender and you're gonna be like, bro, like what is wrong with you, right? So I think over the course of like a season, right, like there are going to be days where like the offense um just isn't going to be off the snuff, and you have to kind of like get over the line. But I don't think you can get away with a defense doing that as easily. Like, what would you have to say to that?
I can agree to an extent, but this is where I look at. I guess you can call them extremities, but they're not really extremities. So when you look at an elite offense, I'm not talking about an above average offense. I'm looking at an elite offense that can get you 100 goals in 38 games. And let's say they have an average defense. So probably going to concede anywhere between 45 to 50 goals. I believe that team will be closer to prosperity than a team that concedes 15 to 20 goals and can only give you 40 to 50 goals in a 38 game season. That's the way I'm looking at it in terms of elite offense versus elite defense.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I think then the question would be, and AK, no, I'm going to bring you in after this. The question would be, like, how are those goals spread around, right? Like, if you're just routing teams like 7-1, 5-1, 4-1 constantly, right? Like, it's great. Those are great numbers. Like you look cool, but at the end of the day, whether you beat them 7-1 or you beat them 1-0, you're gonna get the same amount of of points on the board. So that's where I think the versus like defense thing comes to play, right? Because like at a certain point, like there's going to be a cap on how valuable that offense is in terms of where you're going to finish in the league. Because at a certain point, you're going to get 3 points regardless, right? And before I get to you again, AK, what's up, bro? Thanks for joining, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what up?
What's up,
AK,
bro?
AK, I don't think you've met Chris before, so
What up?
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, good. What about you?
All good, man. All good.
So AK, right now we are basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a tier list type of like power ranking. And right now we're currently talking about Milan because they just happen to be the first team on the list. And what have been your thoughts on Milan this season? And we've talked about the fact that, obviously they've had a manager change. They've had, I'd probably say their best game of the season was when they beat Inter, like in the Super Cup match. But obviously they just lost to Feyenoord right now as well. Just got, João Felix, my favorite player. Like, what are your thoughts on Milan season so far?
Yeah, it's not been great, but I'm not even gonna lie, it's not been great. The Fonseca hire itself was a pretty questionable one because the guy's an average manager. Like, he's not this. He's a manager that plays good football and nothing else. Like, he doesn't get like results that are mind blowing for you to say, for a Milan to come in and say he's going to be our manager. So for me, at the end of the day, man, I think the squad of Milan is talented. I think you have a lot of good players in that squad. But the issue is, like, even this new guy, Conceição, like, they've been better, but I don't think it's not been what I've expected. That's what I was saying. It's not been what I've expected.
All right.
AK, can I ask you
Yeah.
just before I conclude my own thoughts on AC Milan? Can I ask you, are you an AC Milan fan?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in terms of like,
he's actually go ahead, AK. I forgot you're on loan, and Chris is actually a Liverpool fan. So
Yeah, I'm on loan to Liverpool.
where are you on loan from?
Olympique Marseille.
Yeah, the club of
Wow.
Prison FC.
Wow, interesting. Okay. What I was gonna ask about AC Milan is in terms of what you actually expected. When you look at their actual talent, are you impressed to the point that you're like, oh, that can be the best team in the league? Because on one hand, I can be like, no, I'm not that impressed by the team. But on the other hand, I look at Napoli. I'm not that impressed by that team's personnel, so to speak. But the manager is actually coaching. He's doing a good job. He's trying to win games on an individual basis, which is creating this collective whirlpool of why they're first. So
well,
it's
and
kind
also
of
just to supplement your point, I have here. This is the table from last season. So obviously Inter ran away with the league, but they finished second on 75 points, right? And I think so. And currently, right now, they are currently 7th on 38. So they're not on pace to even get 35 at the moment. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up to kind of supplement what you were saying about their expectations going into the season. But AK, you can answer this question.
Nah, I see, man. I think if you look at that Milan squad, personally, only Inter are more talented in terms of the players they have. I don't see Napoli being more talented. I don't see Atalanta, Lazio, Juve, Fiorentina. None of those teams are more talented than Milan. If you're looking at a squad basis, like you have Leao, you have Theo Hernandez, you have Pulisic, you have the Santiago Gimenez. A lot of those Milan players, you would take them at a lot of the top clubs in the Premier League, a lot of the top clubs in Spain, a lot of top clubs in Germany. So, I mean, I'm looking at that team. That team is, for me, at minimum, a second place team. But bad coaching and bad recruitment as well this past summer has led them to finish 7th place at the present moment.
And then the last thing before I get where you guys think you should put them, you guys think they can kind of turn their season around? Because they're not out of like place in the Champions League races right now. I know obviously the 7 points behind with the game in hand. Like, and if Milan were to turn their season around, what would that look like for them? What do you guys think they would finish if they started playing better?
Personally, I think they can turn it around, and I think they can snatch fifth or fourth. Because simply because Juve just doesn't win games, like they know how to draw.
Hey, man,
That's been their specialty.
respect my boy Kolo Muani, bro. He's cooking right now. He's cooking.
Yeah, they know how to draw games, man. And Fiorentina, I think they're pretty good, but I agree with AK in the sense that Milan, when you look at their talents, it's definitely better than Fiorentina, better than Juve. I wouldn't personally say they have better talent than Atalanta, but it's not like it's crazy differences or anything. So if what's his name? What's the new coach's name? Sergio contra what?
Conchi I
Yeah,
can't remember. I think he's like
well,
Portuguese. I can't say his name right now.
yeah. But so far, like, I'm not mad at the job he's doing based off of what I've analyzed from the outside looking in. And I've always thought he's a pretty decent coach who I think would make that next step up after leaving Porto, right? So I think if they turn the season around, I think they can get fourth, personally.
All right, and AK, I don't know if you're there.
Yeah. I'll put them tier 3, to be honest.
Oh,
Okay,
I
tier
would personally put them tier 4, personally.
Oh wow! All right. Well, I guess we'll see how this list shapes up because I don't really have an opinion, obviously. All right, and then obviously, I think I know where you guys are going to put this team, but
Yeah,
let me
tier
hear
1.
what you guys.
Probably. Tier 1, most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about Liverpool a decent amount, so I don't think we need to spend too much time on them. But any quick words? I know. Obviously, you're not impressed with their transfer policy, but that's an entirely different discussion.
I mean, it speaks more volumes to how the coach has adapted to the players he's got. But that's coaching at the end of the day. Like, all
True.
these guys who come in with their philosophies and I need this much money to do this and these players to do that. At the end of the day, coaching is you have the players that you have, get the best out of them. And that's what Arne Slot's doing. He's doing that at an elite level. And because of that, Liverpool are first in the league, first in the UCL, the tier 1.
Because I think
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, couldn't agree anymore. Only thing I would add is I feel like everyone's propped Arne Slot, the team, 100% amazing. Mo Salah, man, what a season! But I've also spoken a lot about him. I'll just end it there. What a season, man!
Also, I'm glad you changed your bum ass name, Chris, from what you wrote before. Bro.
Wait, what is my name before?
I'm not gonna remind you, bro, because that was disgusting what you were doing before. It was actually disgusting. All right, yeah, tier 1 now. Next club, Atletico Madrid. How are you feeling about them this year?
I hope, because I'm a Griezmann fan, even though I think I don't think he's for sure past his peak. He's at the end of his prime.
Wait, hold on. So you're a Griezmann fan, but you watch when I get bullied in the chat for propping Griezmann. You're
Hey man, blame what's his name, John Ice. Blame John Ice, because anytime I talk about Griezmann, he starts sending paragraphs after paragraphs of he's never held to the standards, whatever. So that's why I just keep quiet. But yeah, I'm a Griezmann fan, and I want to see him win. Like, I'm a Barcelona fan as well, but I've seen us win enough La Liga to the point that I don't care.
Wait, hold on. When the hell did you ever say you were a Barcelona fan, bro?
You didn't know this?
No.
What?
I thought you were just a pure Liverpool fan, bro.
No. So, like, Liverpool's my number one, Barca's my number 2. Like, have you never seen in the chat? They always make fun of this. Okay, I'll explain it very.
I didn't realize Barca was the side check. My bad, bro. Continue though.
Yeah, I'll explain very quickly how it actually happened. So I started supporting Liverpool in 2007 because of Fernando Torres. He was my favorite player. So he was the reason I started supporting the club. And then when he went to international duty during the Euro 2008, I started supporting Spain. And then from Spain, I could see the nucleus, the backbone of this team was Xavi. Like, I was mesmerized by how he used to play ball. And then after that tournament, after supporting Spain, I started supporting Barcelona because of Xavi. And then since then, I've always just been a Barcelona fan. But Liverpool is definitely my number 1. But Barca still has my heart for sure.
Okay, you're a funny guy. Anyway, Atletico, what are we saying about them? So obviously second in the league right now. I think they finished top 8 in the Champions League. I don't remember exactly what spot they finished in the Champions League, but what are we making of their season so far?
I think I'm not, like shocked that they're battling for La Liga in the manner that they are. In terms of like, you can see by the stats, they're not really conceding a lot of goals. They're definitely not like in the top 2 for most goals in the league, like always whenever they do compete, I think they always have this drive every 2-3 years. Okay, we'll go for the title again. Sometimes it falls apart, sometimes it doesn't. And unfortunately, every time it hasn't fallen apart and they've won, Griezmann wasn't on the team. And every time that it has fallen apart, Griezmann was on the team. And I'm not saying and I'm not suggesting that Griezmann is the common denominator. I'm just saying that's just what it's been, So hopefully this year is finally the year that they close the deal and they win the title with Griezmann being there,
And then
And the acquisition of Julian Alvarez, however you pronounce his name in Spanish, like it's been a pretty good, decent acquisition. Like he's been great in the UCL. He's been okay in the league, but it's just been like another source for goals. And they also signed Sorloth, who was amongst like the top scorers last season. I forgot who he played for last season. Was it Villarreal or something? I don't remember. But this season, like the goals are distributed amongst the attackers. It's not just Griezmann. Like you'll see Griezmann's goals. He's not scoring the most amongst everyone in the league, but he's doing his job. And then there's Alvarez doing his job, and then there's Sorloth, who's the third attacker / striker, who's doing his job, and that's kind of been their source for goals. While they're very defensively stable. So it's good to see, and I hope they finally win this league for Griezmann, for themselves too, but for Griezmann.
And then they've also been playing well in the Champions League, had big wins against the likes of like PSG, another team that we'll get to at some point in this list. So like, what do you make of their Champions League ambitions? Obviously, they're going to probably be playing either Bayern or Madrid in the round of 16, depending on obviously if they win their ties, which they look like they're going to.
They could play Madrid. Wow.
Yeah. In the Champions League, they're in the draw. So for them, it's either Bayern or Madrid, or technically City, and what's the other team? Celtic, but we're not repping Celtic here. So
yeah. Well, even though Madrid lost to the same team as well in the Champions League, when I saw them play Lille at home, it was pretty terrible. Like losing to Lille and losing to Benfica, getting smoked by Benfica, wasn't exactly like an inspiring display for me to look at them like, yeah, they could challenge. But for me, Atletico's always the team where it's like, if they play consecutive big teams that, overload space and play full on attack, and they play to Atletico's strength of like literally just defending the paint, defending the box, and then we'll hit you with like 1 or 2, 3 efficient counters in the game and win the tie. If they can have a route like that, then maybe they could do something in the UCL. So playing a Bayern, I think it's probably best case for them, as opposed to playing another, I don't know, like respectfully small team in like the round of 16 or quarterfinal. So like if Atletico played Atalanta, or if they played I don't know, if they played Atalanta or Dortmund, I wouldn't back them for as much as they're better than them. I wouldn't back them to win just because of the way that they play. But if they play like a Bayern or a City, Real Madrid's an exception to the rule because they're baby, bro. Like until they beat them, seeing is believing. But like while they play like favorites, I wouldn't be shocked if they knock them out. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think they can do something in the UCL for sure.
And AK, what are your thoughts on Atletico?
Yeah. By the way, this is the last team I need to I'm gonna give thoughts on because I need to go somewhere. So
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I put them. They've been performing well. Second in La Liga, which is it's a big deal. They're only 1 point behind. so they're right in the title race. And in the UCL, after those two big defeats to Lille and Benfica, they've actually gone on a good run of form in the UCL. So
Mhm.
I think even also the win against Barcelona, which was big. I think it was Simeone's first win against FC Barcelona away from home. So they're playing really well. They're not conceding much goals, although I find that stat a bit misleading because I see they concede a lot of chances, but they don't concede a lot of goals.
Mm.
So that's something to keep an eye out on. But overall, I think Alvarez is playing well, Griezmann's playing well, Barrios is playing well. Gallagher has had some good games here. He's been a bit inconsistent, but overall, I think they're right and they're good. They're playing well for their standard, and they're right in the mix for the league and the UCL for me.
All right, so
But
then
AK,
oh.
sorry, can I just say one thing? While you say it's a little misleading that like they're not really conceding like that, but they concede a lot of chances. In my opinion, I think that's kind of been Atletico's MO, especially in their prime. Like you see that year that they made the final with Griezmann in like 2016. When you look at the disparity in because they finished like 3 points behind Barca, who won
Yeah,
the
it
league
was
with
a
like
very close
100
race. Yeah.
points. Yeah, when you look at the disparity in the goals that they scored, it was almost half. Barca scored like 100 and something goals. Atletico scored like half of that, almost half of that. And they conceded like 15 to 18 goals or something. So I think that's kind of their MO that, yeah, they'll concede chances, but they back themselves with their game, which is we're going to protect that box. We're going to earn this 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1 win every third, fourth match. So I think that's just kind of who they are. It's the DNA to kind of let you play and be reactive.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure.
And I do think last thing before I get your opinions on where to put them, I think the only thing I would want from Atletico before I can really put them in that upper echelon is I just want them to be able to start games better. Especially because especially in the first half of the season, a lot of their games are coming down to, getting those substitutions on and swinging it in their favor in like the last 20 minutes, which is all well and good because obviously that's why they're where they are. But I don't see them, being able like that's not really something that you can maintain throughout the standard of a season, right? Just not starting games well and having to constantly have your bench like save you all in matches because what happens if there's injuries? What happens if on the day like the bench isn't able to, perform? Then you still have to be able to win the games if you want to keep up with the likes of a Barcelona, Madrid, let alone go into Champions League nights where the onus is for you to start well because you're going to be playing teams of the same level than you. So if you don't start with your best foot forward, that's an easy way to get blitzed, right? So I think for me, from them, what I want is just to see them dispatch teams sooner, and do that more consistently, and then I think I would put them in that, those very scary conversations. But with that being said, what tier would you guys have them
in?
2.
Tier 2.
Yeah, I agree.
I will put them in tier 2. I just feel like, so in my head, put them tier 2, but it's just that asterisk of what if they win the league? Is it a little disrespectful? But maybe, adjust them if they win.
But
Sure.
but that's the thing with power rankings. You go up or down depending on. So yeah, we'll definitely be updating this. At some point. Whether it's like a week or whatever. Like
Yeah,
actually,
but
I might even do like a week thing, just because if I had found something that was like more so like ranking 1 through 10, a weekly thing might work better. But I think like bi-weekly or tri-weekly, I think just going through the tiers is the way to go with this. So, all right, next up. FC Barcelona, and they're probably like the perfect example of what I was talking about, Chris, because literally, if we did this like 2 months ago, it's looking scary for them. If we had done it 2 months before the 2 months ago, it was looking peak. So, obviously, had an amazing start to the season. Only won their first 8 games in a row. Had a couple bumps in a row in the Champions League, but still to end up finishing second in the Champions League table. They also had that, bad run in the La Liga where they went like 1-7 or something in terms of not winning the winless run. So this season has been very ups and downs, but it looks like they've been recovering right now. They have not lost a game so far in this calendar year, and they've only drew 2 matches in all competitions in this calendar year. So they're definitely cooking. Obviously, they've beaten Madrid twice already. What did I get? An African aggregate score of 9-2 or something. So,
Crazy.
what are we saying about Barcelona and their ability to compete on both fronts?
Yeah, now Barca, they're a great team, man. They're a great team. What's his name? Hansi Flick has a special ability to. I know you said I loved using this word, and it's true. I really love using it. Maximize offensive players. It's like he can get that extra boost and get the best out of offensive players. Because when you look at all of these guys last season versus this season, it's kind of night and day.
Oh yeah,
and that's reflected. Yeah, it's reflected in a guy like Rafinha. Like that dude, I think he had like 10 goals.
It's funny. It's funny because I had made a video on Rafinha like a couple of days ago, right? And I was looking at the thing that stood out to me was I was looking at their chance creation, right? Comparing this season to the last 2 seasons, right? And per game, their per game averages have risen by like 40%. Which is insane because they're already like a top 2 teams in terms of chance creation to begin with. So it's like, like the fact that there's even another level 2 reach beyond that they're actually, is actually insane. And to be honest, I don't want to sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer, but I'm starting to think there might have to be somewhat of a quote unquote flicks tax to these juiced up numbers that these attackers be getting, bro. I'm not gonna lie, because genuinely it is insane, but please continue.
Like it's insane. Rafinha, the flipped switch that he's just undergone from last season to this season. This is a different person. And I know people, like, I've seen a few tweets, people saying that, Rafinha always had this in him, all this, like, no. Let's keep it a stack. If a guy gives me 10 goals for like 6 years in a row, every year, and then 1 year, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in his late 20s, he's already got, 20 goals come January. You can't tell me you saw this coming. This applies to Ousmane Dembele as well, which we'll get to when we get to PSG. But with this guy, Rafinha, I don't think it's fair to say anyone expected what he's doing, like to the scale he's doing it. It's kind of crazy, but it's very impressive, and he deserves full credit. Like 100% respect to Rafinha. Lewandowski, this guy's a geriatric. He's pushing 40, and he's the top scorer in the league, and deservedly so. I know he's scoring a lot of pens, and he's just staying in the box and stuff, but it's still deservedly so. He's winning them games, turning losses.
Respect it, bro. He already has 31 goals. He's already going to surpass his first season in Barca in a couple games. With a couple games.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And then Yamal, who Rafinha is the best player. Yamal is the most exciting one. And I think people have this thing of they look at a young player's talent and potential, and they'll judge them on their potential versus who they are today. Who Yamal is today is special. Who his potential could be is even more special. And sometimes people look at that and they be like, oh, that's why he's the best player in the team. He's not. It's Rafinha. But despite that, what he's doing as a 17-year-old, I think he's 18 at the end of the season. It's unprecedented. I've never.
He doesn't turn 18 until July. So he'll be firmly 17 by the time the season ends. That's actually insane.
Crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a teenager with this level of responsibility for a team that's competing and actually relish in it. I don't think I've ever seen this. Like Messi, when he was doing that was before my time, because Messi was like 19 when I started watching footy. He wasn't this age, like 16, 17. And even then, he wasn't, in my opinion, he wasn't as big a nucleus to Barca's success as Yamal is right now. I'm not saying Yamal is better talent or anything. That's another conversation. But as a nucleus to what will lead the team to success, Yamal is a bigger nucleus right now. at 16, 17 that Messi was for sure when he was 16, 17. I don't even think he was playing for Barca regularly at 16. But
And
anyways,
other thing I want to touch on for Barcelona, kind of their Achilles heel is you look at those defensive numbers, right? In terms of goals conceded, they're seventh in the league. Do you think that's going to be something that could bite at them and be an Achilles heel? And because obviously, like the way they started the season, like they really should have been out of sight by now. And obviously, like they're doing well to make a recovery, and they're still definitely within a chance of winning the league. But because obviously we know he likes to have his high line, and it's kind of like with the Warriors and 3-point shooting, you're gonna live and you're gonna die by that high line, right? So, and their defenders, especially Kubarasi. I don't think I'm saying his name right, but I think they've been doing a valiant job in holding the line as much as possible. Given the kind of extremes that the coach wants them to play to. So, with that being said, do you think the Highland can be an Achilles heel for them at some point? And do you think they'll have enough firepower to overcome that?
yes, I think the Highline can be an Achilles heel for them, and I do think it will be an Achilles heel. In the league, maybe not, but maybe not. Like, I guess we'll see. We'll see. Because they are making a recovery. Because, like you said, they won 1 game in 5 in like December, which is why they plummeted from like how they had started, But in the Champions League, I can see scenarios where if they play a Liverpool, if they play a PSG, where these guys have personnel who are monsters in transition, who will literally kill you. And it's like, how does Barca deal with that when across the season they haven't shown the ability to be able to deal with high level transitions and speed and people that can actually time runs? Respect to Madrid, respect to Mbappe. I don't think Mbappe is the best at timing the run. Like I don't think I've ever seen a person be offside like 6, 7 times where I can look at that guy and be like, he's special. Outside of Mbappe, Mbappe's special. But what he did in that Clasico, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, because to be fair, I think so. I feel like Dortmund's probably the most high-profile transitional team that they've actually managed to beat in the Champions League. And even in that game, right, like it took an extraordinary effort, and even the goal that they ended up scoring to win, Dortmund, I don't know what the hell they were doing because it was like off of like I don't know if you remember, it was like off of like a Dortmund corner, and like one of the Dortmund players like miscontrols it or something, and obviously they go up and they end up scoring from that. So yeah, they do have a tendency to basketball lies, if that's even a word, some of the games at times. And because honestly, it really goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the stream. Like, how much do I think their offense can account for that is truly what's going to make and break, how I view this team. Because obviously, like, they've done enough from a raw number standpoint for me to have like faith in them. But even in these winless run, even in the winless run that they went on when they won like 1-5 or 1-7 or whatever, only one of them. So one of them came right when I think the Betis game was when they were up like 2-0 and they ended up like choking both the goals away, right? And then outside of that, a lot of these other games have been games where they have failed to do the business, right, of actually like scoring enough goals, which, as we've said, is like their bread and butter. So
yeah,
so
that's like potentially worrying signs. Yeah, I hear you. Like when you're playing a team that is willing to do what Atletico does, but like lower level. But I guess you can use Atletico as a case study. You break us down. We're not going to play to your game of play open ball, up and down transition. No. You break us down. You maintain discipline in overloading space. Break us down while we maintain our discipline of being passive, being reactive, watching you, essentially. What are you going to do to break us down? they've had a lot of struggle with that. You know, they've only been able to sustainably win one way, which is to destroy, which is when it's easy, they'll destroy you. When it's hard, there's a very glaring difference in the amount of times they actually win. They have won a few difficult games, but more times than not, they drop points.
Because I'm trying to think, yeah, so how many games have they won by like a goal? Because obviously I see the Alaves game here that they won by a single goal, right? Obviously, most of these other games, the Benfica one they won by a single, but like that's freaking 4-5. Like I'm not gonna respect that. Like a nice gritty 1-0 scoreline. There's the Getafe one back in September. I just want to see something. Yeah, so they've actually only won 2 games all season by a 1-0 scoreline, which is
That's wild.
yeah, which is to your point about how like they need to like basically when they win they kill teams off. So with that being said, I do think in terms of where we're going to put them, I think they've still showed enough, at least for right now, for me to believe in their upper level of what their attack is still going to be enough to put them tier 1 in my opinion. Well, obviously we'll revisit this in like a couple of weeks to a month's time, and we'll see where they're at, because that's going to answer some more questions about where we should actually view them. Are you fine with the tier 1 or?
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. Next up, we have Bayern München. I don't know.
Tier 2.
Wow, I can't believe you're doing that.
Oh man, bro, Bayern. Like I think I said this from the
start. You gotta
start.
give them respect too. They've scored 65 goals in 21 Bundesliga matches, man. So
I don't respect them. I do not respect them, man. Like, and it starts from the head. I don't respect Vincent Company. I'm sorry, I just don't. I just don't. I'm not impressed by him.
Don't be like those people, though. If you know the type of people.
Hey, I'm not like those people, but I'm like another branch of people where it's like, if we're gonna get a representative, have a competent representative. Don't make it look like it's what it is. But yeah, like Bayern Munich, man, like similar to Barca in this sense that they can put up numbers. Like, they can put up hefty numbers. But when it's tough, and you can feel that underbelly softness, they're going to fold. Like, I know Feyenoord was 3-0 down to City, and they ended up drawing 3-3, but that's a pure indictment on City. It's not speaking towards Feyenoord's level to me, So to get baptized, sorry, let me not use baptized. Love Jesus. No, I don't want to misappropriate terms. To get whooped by Feyenoord is an embarrassment of affairs. And I was already not impressed even before that game, because for me, it starts from the personnel. The defense, bro, if Upamecano is your most reliable center back, and to me, he's not been bad or anything this season, but if he's like your most...
Okay, I think it's the other one. That.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to say now. Like, if he's your most reliable center back and you employ Kim, who has been he's been tragic since coming from Napoli.
I read that he's been playing with like an Achilles injury or something.
Has the Achilles injury been 2 years? Because he's been here for 18 months and he still looks crap. Respectfully. So when you got Kim, who looks tragic, when you got De Ligt, Delit's gone. When you got Eric Dyer, bro, Eric Dyer is diabolical. I don't care what anybody tells me. He is diabolical. He's not a good center back. Him being here is literally just reputation. Like, he shouldn't be employed by Bayern Munich in 2025. Respectfully. I respect professional footballs. I respect their craft. And every single individual athlete, they're in the 1%. So I'm only talking relatively. Relatively, you should not be employed by Bayern Munich in 2025. You are not a competent player for this level. You should be in the N-Power Championship or the Saudi or America, whatever. You shouldn't be here, bro. You should not be here. When I look at these dudes, I'm like, no. This gives me no inspiration to trust this team. This team is diabolical, and it doesn't just stop there. Midfield options, there's nothing there unless Kimmich stops playing midfield. And that's the funny thing. Kimmich has been moving around. Times he plays right back. Sometimes he plays center back. Sometimes he plays midfield. But when you look at,
you don't rate Pavlovic?
I rate him actually. But outside of him, what's his name? Limar, who they got from
Leipzig.
Leipzig a couple of years ago. Like I always thought he wasn't good. I remember when Liverpool was linked to him and people were celebrating. I'm like, no. This dude is not good. They still employ Leon Goretzka, a German man named Leon. Crazy. He shouldn't be playing for this team. Like
Hey, Leon's a cool name, man. Relax.
it is a cool name. It is a cool name. But they are stacked offensively. Harry Kane, he's kind of moving like a geriatric in terms of tape with how slow he is in movement, but he's still a killer in front of goal. Musiala, awesome talent, still room for improvement, but awesome talent, great player. Sane, not that impressed. I think he's cooked, but he's in the Bundesliga and he's playing for the best team that can generate numbers, so you'll get a couple. Olise, been a great signing, So they are stacked offensively, but it's like I can just see it. Like Bayern playing Atletico, I think they're going home, and this is a round of 16 clash, and this isn't Atletico with Godin and Jimenez in his prime. Atletico could be playing Axel Witsel, who's a former number 8. They could be playing him in centre back, and I'm fearful for Bayern, which is scary. That's a scary thought process to have. Like Bayern, I'm worried about them, man. Like I think they'll win.
Yeah, I definitely do think. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I'll just wrap this up. Then I think they'll win the Bundesliga just because Leipzig. I don't think that they have the minerals to win it this season unless Bayern collapses. But yeah, Bayern, bro, man. This ain't it, bro.
I do think when it comes to Bayern, I'll be honest. My main issue with them is I think their wingers, besides Olise, have been downright diabolical this season. I don't think they've been active enough in terms of attacking. Being a support for Kane and Musiala, who I think have been having to put up a lot of the numbers attacking wise. And it's like I don't really know how it's possible when you play with one of the best passing strikers in Kane. You are extremely quick yourselves, and you're already on the best team. How your numbers could be so meaty. In terms of I think at their best, I think probably their best performance this season was probably the 5-1 demolition of Leipzig, where obviously Leipzig scored early in the match and then they scored immediately after and then proceeded to just whoop those boys 7 days from Sunday. Where I think the thing with Bayern is when they are on the front foot and the game is high octane, I think that's where they thrive. I think the issue with Bayern is to your point, and very similar to Barcelona, where they're structured in such a way where if you can withstand their pressure, the vulnerabilities are there to exploit. Their center backs are so far apart. Their Neuer is kind of washed. Their fullbacks aren't the strongest defensively, whether it's Davies, who I like going forward, but still Guerrero, who just doesn't have the athleticism to stay in front of people, but he's a good technical player. Even Kimmich, same thing in terms of the athleticism, even though he is a very feisty player defensively and obviously good on the ball in terms of keeping possession and all of that. But I do think that Bayern at their best, I think I feel like Bayern at their best are up there with those tier 1 teams. I think at their best they're up there with those Liverpool, Barcelonas, but I just don't think they have even the consistency of a Barcelona to be at their best all the time. And I do think part of the fact that they play in the Bundesliga, where at the moment it's really just Leverkusen, really doing anything, kind of allows them to hide that fact a bit more, right? Because when you look at what's been going on, Frankfurt, obviously, they're missing Mamouche. Leipzig have literally fallen off a cliff since I think the end of November or something, and they were terrible in the Champions League. And then Dortmund, not even going to talk about those bums. So they've been kind of in a state where like the Bundesliga, the teams in the Bundesliga this year have been down, so they haven't really been forced to face any type of adversity, which, to your point, could kind of play into the kind of hubris that would allow them to be taken advantage of. So, with all of that being said, where would you put them in terms of the tier this year?
If this was still Tuchel, in the very same circumstances, I would be comfortable putting them in tier 1, even though I would still be saying the same thing. Because I trust Tuchel tactically and as a manager far more eons beyond me trusting this guy Company. Because it's Company, I would be comfortable putting them in tier 2. But I'm okay in either one personally. But Company, oh man, the quicker he goes, the better. The sooner he goes, the better.
Yeah, I'd probably end up putting them in tier 2 as well. I mean, I'm not as low on Company as you are, but I just haven't seen enough versatility for me to put them as high as tier 1, especially because like I guess like you were saying as well, even though they and Barcelona have a lot of the same motifs in terms of how they play, I just think that Barcelona attack is just a step above from them, like all around the pitch, right? Like, yeah, even though Lewandowski and Kane might be somewhat comparable, Kane probably being a little bit more clinical at this season, but Lewandowski being more active in terms of defensively how they press, even though he's not the best presser himself. But after that, then it just kind of becomes a wash, right? Like Rafinha compared to what Gnabry, Yamal compared to Sane, like get out of my effing face with that nonsense. So obviously Musiala is still good too, but he's just I don't think he's at that level yet. Although he's obviously kind of ascending this season, so that kind of is yet to be seen. So yeah, next we have Dortmund, and I don't really think we have to spend much time on this. They're definitely tier 4.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I might give them a slight bump to tier 3 is because their Champions League campaign has surprisingly been very good, to be honest.
Luck of the draw. Luck of the draw, man. I think that's why they finished top 8 in the Champions League. Luck of the draw.
No, I think they played a playoffs because they played what's it called, Sporting, which obviously Sporting are missing.
Oh wait, they made the play because they were in what do you call it? They were in the top 8 for most of the season. Wow, they finished 10th. Okay,
because they lost to Bologna Sandwich.
Yeah, but even then, still finishing top 10, that's still luck of the draw for me. But yeah,
I do think. I mean, I think their performances have been better than. Like, I think they were good. Like, I guess Barcelona. I legitimately think they played them very well, and like I said, that goal that Barcelona scored to win the game was like literally a freak goal. Like, I don't understand. Like, it didn't even make any sense to me how that sequence came about. But yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that game in specific. But I mean, every other game that they played, bro. I don't know where this team's from. Is it that Sturm team? Are they from Austria or something? They played a team like that. They played Dynamo. They played Shakhtar and Sporting was in the playoffs, but they played Shakhtar. So when you're playing enough teams like this, when you compare that to a PSG, where almost every game, in fact, their entire 8-game span was a gauntlet, bro. Every game was a tough game essentially for them. So that's what I'm saying. I think it was luck of the draw.
You're right. I don't fully disagree with that. And yeah, and then when I look at kind of their season results, they haven't beaten anyone impressive at all, like at all this year. Like they've pretty much lost to all of the top Bundesliga teams. So like if I were to look at their most impressive win of the season,
I think their best result was I think their best result was winning 1-1 against Bayern. I think when Kane got injured late in that game.
No, that's messed up. But yeah, so definitely terrible. Horrendous have been horrendously disappointing, and we'll see if Niko Kovac can help turn them around with that. Now, if we get to Inter Milan, and for some reason this tier listing had like the old logos, which we're low key better anyway. But yeah,
Mm.
Inter Milan have been. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they are a team that everyone likes, everyone respects. But because we don't watch enough of them, they get more plaudits than they deserve. That's gonna be my thoughts on Inters.
Mm.
Because I think I remember I alluded to this last week, right, when we were doing the draft, and we were talking about their players.
Yeah.
Because my beef with Inter has always just been the fact that when they can't break teams down, they have to give up some more of their balance in order to do that. And obviously in the Champions League, they've done well in terms of, not conceding goals, and, being defensively resolute. But I do think when you play like that, the ceiling of your team is lower, right? Because um, on a good day, you have to basically be less defensively solid to go out and score more goals. And then on top of that, right, like pretty much in terms of their attack force, Marcus Thuram has been the only one in actual like good form this season, which is pretty funny when you think about it. So, and even when you look here, freaking Denzel Dumfries is their third goal scorer in a Serie A. So, it definitely makes for like interesting reading. In terms of like their consistency over the season, obviously they did well to beat Fiorentina after getting smoked by them last week. But even the game that they won, I think they got like a contentious penalty or something like that. But I don't fully remember.
I think it's on goal. On goal.
Oh, on goal. Okay, thank you. Obviously they got, I want to say pimp slapped, but they got bamboozled by Milan in the Super Cup final. When they ended up losing after being up, 2 goals on them.
Mm.
You look at results like that, but because I would say prior to that they had been pretty consistent, really only losing against Leverkusen in the Champions League. So, what are your thoughts on Inter season? Because I would say up until like a month ago, like they had this kind of era, not of invincibility, but of just like resoluteness about them.
Yeah, no, I'm impressed by their personnel, their coach, and their overall season. Like, I understand your reservations, and I think they're all valid. But in my opinion, I think the approach in the Champions League versus in the league, it's been different because they are the most talented team in their league. And in the Champions League, they've kind of had to like shift mentality for the better teams specifically. Shift mentality that, essentially, we're going to be the passive ones. We're going to watch you play and react off of that, and then kill you on the one or two occasion that will be presented within the game, which is what they did to Arsenal. I think at the end of the game, that's when they scored to win 1-0. It didn't exactly happen in terms of them capitalizing on it against City before City were absolutely diabolical, because I think they played them early.
Mm-hmm.
But they were better than City, and they ended up drawing 0-0. I think so. I think the approach and the mentality has been a little different in the league versus the Champions League. Because when you look at the league, for as much as I agree with certain deficiencies of when they're forced to break teams down, there has been a little bit of a struggle because they do struggle with more resistance. I think it ties into a part of what their DNA is, to be resolute and then to kill you with the 1 or 2 goals. So I think part of the issue is because they're the most talented team in their league, the mentality kind of has to be a little bit different, which is why when you look at their attack, for as much as you're saying Thuram is their only impressive attacker this season, the other attacker, Lautaro, he could be doing so much better. He's doing worse this season so far compared to last season, but he's still scoring goals relative to that league. And the team as a whole, they're far outscoring everyone else in the league. I think there was even I think they whooped Lazio like 6-0, like a month and a half ago. I don't remember. But I think this speaks to like the mental shift that they kind of have to have in this league, where they do have to play with a little more space in behind, you know, and that's why they can get punished by a Fiorentina 2 weeks ago. They got destroyed, even though they had most of the ball and they had to force the issue for most of the game, you know. So I think the issue, personally, I think it's been like that mentality shift that they've had to jump from across the season a little bit. But overall, I'm still impressed by their personnel, and I still think they will win this league. You know, I think they will win this league. They have the best team. They should be further away, but that's in part because of the few losses and draws that they've had, which is unfortunate. And it's also in part because of Napoli. Like, I still don't rate the talent, so to speak, but based off of the results they've gotten, respect to Conte. You know, like, he's doing a job. Like, he's patched up this league, as NK would say. he's got a patch on this league. You know, they don't know, they haven't figured this guy out. You know,
Yeah,
so
and I definitely do, see what you're saying, and to give Inter a little bit more credit, even for as much as I was saying, they are still, right, okay, when you look at the metrics, they still have the most goals in the league, third best, in terms of defense. So, the metrics still indicate that they are, one of the best teams in the league, right? So, I do think that, I guess the only thing I would say about Inter, right, was when you kind of juxtapose their Serie A standings to where they are in the Champions League, right? So, like, in the Champions League, they're 24th in terms of goals scored, and then, like, again, first in terms of goals conceded. So I do believe that when it comes to Inter, I guess the only thing I would really say is that it's a bit funny because I don't think they can get much better than they are now.
Hmm.
And I think where they are at now is good enough, to your point, to win the league.
Mm.
But I do think they're going to need that little bit extra if they're going to do something in the Champions League. Because I'm sorry, I don't care how defensive as you have to be. Like, 24th is, well, disgraceful. So, so like, they are going to have to make that little step up and start playing like a quote unquote big club to a certain extent. Obviously, I rate their consistency because they have been consistent amongst like both competitions, but I just don't think they have that little extra oomph that they need to do something to win the Champions League. But obviously, I still think they can make like a deep run in it.
Yeah.
And then overall, I'd still probably put them tier 1 just due to their consistency.
Yeah, I agree. Tier 1.
Next we have Juventus. Also, I gotta say this logo is way better than their current one, by the way, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why they changed. I don't know why Inter changed, but them specifically, I don't know why they changed their logo. Doesn't make sense.
It has been a very, very interesting season for Juventus because before we even get into the most obvious thing that we can talk about, so Juve right now are currently 5th in the table, right? And they have the 4th most goals and the 2nd best defense. So, based off of that, you would think they would be slightly higher than where they are. And the thing that stands out to me is that despite having the 4th most goals, they don't have a single player with double digits in goals yet. And we're already in the middle of February. Like, we're not even early February anymore because we're in mid-February now.
Mm.
What do you think that they can do? Because obviously Colomani's coming. He's cooking so far. He's already like the 2nd top goal scorer in like 3 matches, which probably says something in and of itself. Even when you look at their, assist numbers, like, it's being topped by, Thuram, who's more of who's supposed to be more of a box to box 8 as opposed to like an out and out playmaker who that's supposed to be Coop miners. So when you kind of look at what they've been doing, and obviously the amount of draws that they've had, and even their Champions League campaign, what's the jury on Juve at the moment for you?
Yeah, I think they're as average as it gets. I think them having 13 draws and being, I think like topping goals and what do you call it? Goals conceded. Like I think you said like the fourth or fifth with total goals, and they're in and around like the top 3, 4 with goals conceded. I think those are false images, specifically with the goals, because part of it is because of what Colomani's done. And like it's just 2 games, which has kind of changed their fortunes. Because I think they scored like 6 goals in 2 games, which is like
Well, it's
more
funny because
than
when you look at their XG, they're like actually like 7th. So to your point,
yeah. So I think it's partly that, but also I think it's also some of the draws that they've had. They've had like high scoring draws. It's kind of funny, like the 4-4 draw against is it Inter? Yeah, Inter.
yeah.
And like Bologna 2-2, and they've had like other 2-2 draws against like Parma, where it's like those aren't necessarily reflective of quality, just like game state of the game, kind of thing. So I don't think their attack is all of that. I think they're just as average as it gets, from the coach to the players and everything. They're just average, not average great, not average elite. No. This is an average team.
And
I don't know what they're doing.
say too that I think Dusan Vlahovic is a very good case study on why just having a striker that is good at striking and finishing and nothing else isn't always the most optimal thing to have on a team. Because people are always like, oh, like I don't need my striker to do anything else. If you can just if you could just shoot the ball, like who cares, right? I know you've seen those takes before.
Yeah.
He's a very good example of why it's not always that situation.
True.
Because it's like, what happens when you can't help supplement your attack, and then your attack is just worse, and now you can actually get the shots off that he needs to even score in the first place. So it's like now you get 8 goals in mid-February for a guy that really is good enough to be scoring at least 12 or 13 by now. If he was on a competent team that could create chances for him. And I think maybe what Juve need, especially given what Colomani has done, is maybe I think I've alluded to this before. One of the things that I think Juve have been dealing with is their lack of transition threat.
Okay.
Like, Vlahovic is a very slow player, and even when you look at like their wingers, a lot of them like to get the ball to feet as opposed to running into space behind. And there'll be times where like freaking Timothy Weah is like their most attacking threat in terms of like moving the ball quickly, which obviously is not what you really want, given that he's their freaking right back, right? Even when you look at their midfielders, again, Thuram's probably been their best midfielder, partly because he's really the only one that can move like that, right? Like you have players like Locatelli, who's a very like slow type of 6, likes to a slower paced game, and even Coop Miners, I know they brought in, who was supposed to be more of their 10, hasn't really worked out for him in that area, and Douglas Luiz like barely gets a game as well. And I also do think that them missing Bremer has been big for them this season, as he probably adds even more stability to their defense that they've missed, especially in some of those crucial draws that they've gotten, where it's one of those things where like, because I think a decent amount of those draws the other team equalized in like the last minute or something. So it's times like that where you kind of need your main defender to help like calm nerves. So sometimes it's like, even though the numbers still indicate that the defense has been good, like just those critical moments that you need that extra bit of quality from your defenders, he's probably would have been the one to bring that if he was there. And also hopefully, I'm hoping Renato Vega cooks for them, because my club also needs a center back as well. So do your thing, young blood. In terms of with how they've looked in the Champions League, obviously I think they lost to Feyenoord, right? I believe.
I think they beat PSV in the playoff.
Oh yes. Sorry. I don't know why I keep mixing up my teams here, but yeah. So they're probably gonna make it into the next round, and they've kind of been in a similar mold to Inter, where they haven't really scored much. They haven't conceded much either. Probably their best performance in the Champions League this season is when they beat City 2-0, but I'm not really sure how much credit we should even give Juve for that in the first place.
Yeah.
So like basically a lot of what I have to say about them is similar to what I said about Inter, where I think they need to go beyond another level if they even want to make a deep run, right? Like I think Inter need to go beyond a level if they want to win, but I think Juve need to go beyond their own level right now if they just want to make a deeper run in the competition.
And not only that, I think they need to up a level, but they also need a luck of the draw. They need to play like a Dortmund, a Milan, AC Milan, and another team that's like tier 3, 4, just to make it far, in my opinion. Because I think any serious team beats these guys up.
Well, because looking at who they could play, they are either going to be playing Inter or Arsenal. So
I think yeah, the Inter thing is tricky because it's like when you play a team in your own league, it's always a bit trickier, but Inter should be beating them. Like I think Inter's playing them tomorrow or Sunday. Inter should be winning, but I wouldn't be shocked if they don't for whatever reason. Just like how I think, were they like 4-2 up or 4-2 down, and then they ended up drawing 4-4. Inter should be beating them.
Yeah, I don't remember the sequence of what happened in that game. Like I don't remember who was up and who was thing. Yeah, let me check actually. But in terms of where we want to put them, I feel like they're probably a tier 3 team, to be honest.
Okay. I would have put them in tier 4 personally, but okay. Tier 3.
I don't think they've been as bad as Dortmund. Like Dortmund have actually been.
That's the thing.
Oh yeah, so I guess it was Inter that were up 4-2.
Crazy. Should have won that game. It's crazy.
I don't know why Lyon are here, but I mean they've actually been okay in Ligue 1, but I've not watched enough of them to give a firm opinion like that. All I know is I want Ryan Cherky. United, I mean, I don't know why they're either, but they're clearly like bottom of tier 4. We don't really need to spend much time on them. Marseille, same thing, but they're Prison FC actually, but their prisoners they can cook a little bit. I'll give them that. Cité, as we like to say. What do we say?
They've been diabolical. They've been the worst team on performance-wise. They've been the worst team in Europe. Like they're literally food for all of. There was a period in between mid-November to end of January. They were food for anyone who was hungry. If you're hungry, if your stomach is rumbling a little bit, they're food. They are literally food. Like they can't deal with any level of intensity, transitions. They can't deal with any of that.
You call them Uber Eats?
Bro, Uber Eats, buffet, bro, anything. They're food, man. Food. This is food to be eaten, bro. Like, can't deal with transitions, can't deal with intensity, can't defend your box. The goalkeeper's a literal hologram. Outside of Haaland, there's no goals. It's like over.
Did you see Ederson trying to aura farm for the goal he gave up against Brahim Diaz?
Tragic, bro. I was saying it in the chat. Ederson, and I've believed this for years, even at his best, he was obviously way better then than now, but this is still his MO. This is a Division 2 midfielder. This is a guy who, in a vacuum, is a good football player that can play that can actually play football. Because playing football is offensive mind. I think everyone knows this intrinsically. To play means to pass forward and play forward. He can do that at a Division 2 level. But as a goalkeeper, this guy's not a goalkeeper. He is not a goalkeeper. There's no ways he went to the academy and learned how to make saves and learned footwork, learned how to position himself. No, no, no. This guy's not a goalkeeper, man. He is a Division 2 midfielder.
Yeah,
And Pep. Let me get to Pep.
No, like,
Pep Pep is my favorite coach of all time. To me, he's the greatest coach I've seen. I think he's greater than Fergie personally, but everything is showing this season. I know people say, when you attain a certain level of greatness, you deserve a certain level of grace. You deserve this down year. Next year will go again. A lot of the times I agree with that, but it's also case by case. When I look at the Pep case, this guy's cooked. He's emotionally cooked. He's mentally cooked. He's tactically cooked. He's getting cooked the same way every single game. And it's like he doesn't identify the issues is what I'm seeing as a macro issue. He's not identifying issues. Anytime he's in front of the cameras and in front of the mic, what he's saying are issues aren't even issues that, we're missing players. That's why we're so terrible. That's not the reason, brother. The reason is because there's no intensity in that midfield. There's no midfield there. There's no legs there. And then defensively, they're always constantly vulnerable. And I don't believe that the defenders were ever this bad years ago. But City's strength has always been hold onto the ball and minimize what the actual defenders need to do. They've always been masters at that. The Pep teams have been masters at that. And with that, those defenders could actually defend within their limited time to do it. But they've always been masters at holding onto the ball, winning the balls, winning second balls, and applying and mixing intensity with technical quality and excellence. All of that is gone. These guys have no legs. Gundogan, and bro, I know anytime Gundogan's coming on the pitch, they're losing that game. They are losing that game. He's got no legs. Bernardo, he's a disgrace. He is a disgrace. He's 30 years old and he's cooked. He's probably one of the most, if not the most cooked player on the team. If it's not him, it's KDB, my favorite player in the team. He's done.
KDB against Madrid,
bro.
It was like watching the Brooklyn Nets Kevin Garnett out there, but I'm not gonna lie.
Bro, Brooklyn Nets Kevin Garnett. What's it? 20? Was it 20? Celtic Shaq, Luca's first year, Dirk Nowitzki. Like, bro, it was tragic. He couldn't move. He was a literal geriatric. Lewandowski can move and he's pushing 40, relatively. This guy couldn't move. Oh, man, it was tragic. It was tragic.
I mean, do you think so obviously they've spent like $250 million in January to bring in some reinforcements. Do you think any of them can push? Like, what do you think they're going to finish the season? Do you think any of their new signings can have a positive impact?
I think for sure, the Nico Gonzalez, former La Masia graduate, and they got him from Porto. I think the funny thing about City, in my opinion, is just adding a body makes them better, and that speaks to how bad playing Bernardo and Gundogan are. Because just adding a body makes you better. Because these guys are literal holograms. They offer nothing on the other side of the pitch. Absolutely nothing. Even on the ball, they can't do what they used to do. On the other side of the pitch, offer absolutely nothing. So just adding a body makes you all the more better. But I think this guy actually has qualities in him, Nico Gonzalez. And in an ideal world, when Rodri's healthy next season, he and Rodri needs to play together, and then maybe sign another midfielder that's a deputy for them. These guys, Bernardo, Gundogan, need to be phased out. They shouldn't kick the ball again for this team, So in terms of the prospects for the remainder of the season, if Nico Gonzalez can be healthy for the remainder of the season, he can help them be better. But I think they're wounded animals this season. I don't think they'll be able to go on any special run at any point in the season. I think it's just about damage limitations, damage limitations, win games where you can, and pray that the season ends as quick as possible and as soon as possible, So I think they can finish top 4. and that's just because of they're battling with Chelsea and Nottingham Forest, who are doing well for their level,
Yeah,
but their level,
big, bro. I
yeah,
still believe in them. I don't care.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think they
Um,
can still.
so with that being said, what tier would you put them in?
So that's the weird thing. Based on performance, they deserve tier 4, 100%. Based off of talent, even with the deficiencies, they should be between tier 1 and 2 if you account. Yeah, kind of. But
If
like
that's
for me,
like tier, actually, no. Say what you're gonna say first.
yeah, for me personally, tier 4. I haven't seen a single team be as embarrassing as they have been from mid November to end of January. Not even United. Not even United. United beat them, bro. Like, dude. For me personally, City deserves tier 4, man. It's tragic.
Because then the question is, do I think, for as bad as they've been, do I think they're as bad as Dortmund and AC Milan?
Bro, even Juve beat these guys.
True. Okay. All right. AS Monaco. I'm not gonna spend too much time on them. I'm honestly probably gonna put them tier 4 because I hate their striker and their strike force is terrible.
Who's the striker?
Mbolo.
Oh, Briel Limbolo, the Swiss black guy.
Like I do think top to bottom, I do think their team was like pretty decent. I like some of their young talents. They started off the season pretty well. But like basically ever since like December, they've just, I don't want to say fallen off, but they've just not shown that same consistency. And obviously they just lost to Benfica last week. They lost to PSG 4-1. They, and even before that, they got smoked by Inter 3-0. The same Inter that I just said don't even score goals in the Champions League. So it's funny because I think probably their best win of the last month and a half is just probably like against Aston Villa. But overall, I think they've kind of fallen off. Like if you had asked me this like a couple 2 months ago, I probably would have put them like tier 3. Maybe even tried to argue a tier 2, but like tier 2 push. But yeah, no, definitely tier 4. Napoli. What are we saying about Napoli?
If Juve is tier 3, kind of have to put Napoli in tier 2. But I personally don't think Napoli is on the level of Atletico or Bayern. So
I mean, I'm fine putting them tier 3 as well because I feel like, because let me put it this way, I feel like Napoli have been playing beyond their skin, whereas Inter kind of sleep.
Above their way.
Yeah, and I think Inter and Juve have been kind of sleepwalking. So I probably still put them tier 3 in all honesty.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Conte though. Great job.
No, we're not gonna shut up that bum. I'm not gonna shut up. No, if anything, shout out to Anguissa. That's who I'm gonna shout out, bro. So next PSG. So you already know about Dembélé. We don't gotta rehash that. Obviously, they haven't lost a single game in Ligue 1. And then in the Champions League, obviously they just cooked Brest over the week, and probably their best performance is when they went on that 20-minute blitzkrieg against Manchester City. What do we? Because I think they're probably one of the teams that are kind of opposite of like a Barcelona, where like in the Champions League they start off kind of slow, but they're kind of starting to peak at the right time. So basically, the crux of the question is: do you believe that their uptick is like a flash? Do you think it's actually like legit? And based off of that, can you see them making some sort of run in the Champions League this season?
Yeah, no, I think it's legit. I think if we're fair to PSG, they've probably had the most difficult schedule in the Champions League. Like they played Arsenal, they played Bayern, they played Atletico, and this is before City. I know City are trash, but City was still doing something for like at least the first half. But still, like just having that in the schedule, their strength of schedule is pretty tough for most of the Champions League run. So I think that's in part why they started so slow, and that's why they ended up being in the playoffs. It wasn't necessarily indicative of their quality, and also because I guess you can make this argument that because this is like Dembele's and a lot of these attackers, it's their first time having this responsibility to lead the team. So if you're looking at early in the season, a lot of these missteps, you can make the argument that, oh, okay, maybe they wouldn't make the same misstep right now. Maybe if they played in Arsenal right now, the game would have been a lot closer, or in Atletico. So just throwing it out there a little bit in defense of them. And I don't like PSG for the record. I don't respect the institution or anything, but call for another day. At least I didn't respect what they were doing with the Messi, Neymar, Mbappe thing. I didn't respect that. And now I actually respect their footballing direction. I'll correct myself. But yeah, they deserve a lot of credit. I think Enrique has been doing a hell of a job. And Dembele, him, like I was saying a few weeks ago, I used to disrespect this guy. It was last week. I used to disrespect him. I thought he was brain dead. This guy is a new man. Like he deserves, similarly to Rafinha, nothing but respect. Everything he's doing, I'm championing it. Like that's amazing to see. It's
See,
genuinely amazing.
now we just need a Rashford to cook at Villa, so we can have the revival of the late '90s kids, man. Because I'm not gonna lie, outside of Mbappe, it's looking like the pre-90. Because I would consider like the '99 players to be a part of current gen.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
pretty much anyone older than Mbappe, pretty much anyone between like Mbappe and who's probably the most prolific mid '90s player.
Mbappe and Rafinha. Because Rafinha is what, 96, 97? When is he born?
That's a bit too close. I'll probably say like Mbappe and like Sterling, because Sterling was end of '94. So like anyone between like '95 and Mbappe, like that 3-year spell, so I think Kimmich is '95. So yeah, Kimmich. We'll say between Kimmich and Mbappe. It's
an example is an example like Sane. Like this guy's cooked. Like if he could, if he could do it, Dembele.
We need that. Honestly, I think that might be a good video topic. That's truly the lost generation right there. That '95 to '98 range. I don't know what they were doing after 2021, man. Outside of Mbappe and Kimmich, I don't know, because I'm trying to think. Besides those two, who that was born between those years has had consistent like world class seasons as of since like 2020? Can you think of anyone?
2020. Kane's before that, 93. It's hard to think right now, but we'll think about it for the video.
I think it's a very good topic. But yeah, I think in terms of PSG, I think right now I'd probably put them tier 2.
Really, I would put them tier 1 personally.
Really? You're definitely higher on them than I am, because I still think they need like that. What's it called? Standout win before I can truly place them in tier 1. Because I think they're playing when they. And I think they're gonna be. I forget who they're gonna be playing in the knockout in round of 16. So they're gonna be playing Liverpool or Barcelona. So we're gonna get the answer to that question like very soon, actually.
But to be fair, if they do lose to either one of them, is it really an indication that they're not tier 1? Because hypothetically, if Liverpool and Barcelona,
I get your point. Then it just depends on how they perform. Like if they go toe to toe with them, they put up a respectable fight, and they just happen to be on the losing end of that, I'm fine playing them tier 1. So I think I put them tier 2 for now, and it's pending. At least if they give them a good go, I'm willing to bump them up.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And then this annoying bum ass satanic team, like I'm just gonna put them. I don't want to talk about these bums, bro. I'm just gonna put them tier 1 and move on, bro.
Yeah.
These dudes just be sleepwalking their way to tier 1, bro. I don't even. It's actually so it's actually so disgusting, bro. Genuinely, I actually felt bad for Pep after that game. And I never thought I would say that in my life, bro.
Bro. Man, that's Madrid. Man, I don't think anyone hates that club more than me, man.
Well,
I don't
to
wanna
be honest,
talk
I really
about
didn't have any beef with Madrid until like 2022. To be honest,
what, because of the Mendy thing?
no, well, not even just that. It'd be just they just scammed their way to like 2 UCLs, bro. And
I
then
agree.
and then when
I
Dortmund
agree.
won it, and then when Dortmund got to the final last year, I almost gave up on this because I was like, bro,
Bro,
what am I
no,
gonna waste 2 hours of my life watching this nonsense?
bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't watch that game. I have no tape on that game at all. That's the first Champions League final I haven't watched since I started watching football, which is crazy.
Like the only way I was gonna watch that final was if Mbappe could have risen and play his new team and let them know what they're missing. But like once I saw Dortmund win that second leg, I was like, bro, this is gonna be an actual waste of my time, bro.
Bro, or if Barca was serious and beat PSG in the second leg and then get to the final, and then it's not Clásico final.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I hate both these clubs, so I hate
Yeah.
Barcelona for like a different reason.
Yeah.
My beef with Barcelona was actually also in 2022, so I actually hated them around at the same time, and I hate them basically because you know that first transfer window that Chelsea had under Todd Bowley.
Yeah.
Barca basically like took every single transfer target they wanted to get, bro.
Oh yeah. What Koundé, where NK couldn't stop.
Like Lewandowski, they took him. Chelsea wanted Dembele, and they just sold it to PS. Like they because I think they were about to sell Dembele, and then Xavi set to keep it for like another season or some nonsense as well. I was just like, you know what? I was like, screw you guys, bro. Like y'all don't even have the money for this nonsense, bro. So yeah, that's low-key my beef with Barcelona. It's kind of starting to dissipate, obviously, because it's been like 3 years now. But Tottenham tier 4. Arsenal is an interesting one because I could go either way with tier 1 or tier 2, to be honest.
Yeah, so I would put them tier 1 before all of these injuries.
Yeah, I was about to say.
All of these injuries is probably going to lead to like far worse points than they probably would have gone had their full strength team been there like the whole time.
Like no Saka, no Havertz, like
Martinelli is also gone for like a month and a half.
Like but you're gonna have to do some Yamal level nonsense for me to put these as a tier
And they
1.
play 30, bro.
Huh? And they have that false 10, playing as well.
Yeah, what they got?
The false 10 masquerade, the 8 masquerading as a 10.
Yeah, now Odegaard, man, like this is the time for him to rise, and he's not going to rise. But
he's
man,
right. And then they have the 6 that can't receive the ball from the center back, so he's got to run forward.
Respect my boy Declan Deckers.
Hey, I do respect him, bro. I'm just saying this is the one thing he can't do, bro.
Yeah.
Tell him to go train with Gravenberch or something, bro. No. Shit. Yeah, so I'm gonna put them tier 2 due to their injuries and the fact that I do think they, attacking wise, obviously you already know their issues in terms of scoring goals when it matters, like at critical moments. Even when they were at full strength, I think their main issue has been twofold. One, they're just really slow. Like and they don't really have, or I don't even know if they don't have the ability to do it, but they're not showcasing the willingness to play faster when the game necessitates it because they don't want to give up control to do that. And then two, I don't know why they're so scared of going through the middle, man. Like everything was just to be.
And I think that's the thing. Both of what you said can kind of be compounded to one thing. And I'm a fan of this guy, this false 10. And an 8 masquerading as a 10, but you can kind of look at him for both issues. Anytime they're on the transition, bro, this dude he's a vacuum in the transition, bro. Like he kills transitions, and anytime you play through the middle, he's gonna make the sideway passes as opposed to using his vision to see where people are in space and pass. Take the risk. He doesn't really do that. And he doesn't score. Well, I don't know what happened to him. That first season when Arsenal started competing in 22-23, he was scoring goals. I don't know what happened to him. He doesn't do this anymore. You know,
I mean, I don't think he's ever been a consistent goal scorer like that.
he hasn't. But bro, he had 15 goals from midfield in the league in 22-23. So
Okay,
you would
well,
think you're gonna come at least close to that, you know, and he hasn't.
Well, because when you look at what he's done, like he got 11 goals last season, so well done to him there in that sense. But outside of these 2 seasons, like every
But
time
hold on. That's all comps. How many do they have in the league? So click that upside down triangle. So
8.
8. Okay. Yeah. So half of that first season.
No. This is when he got 11. So in the league, he got the 15 he got in that first season. We were all in the league. So I remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying like he's never really been like a high volume goal scorer like that. And I do think part of that's just because bro just does not have the PNP to like arrive in those areas like a Jude, or nor does he have the PNP to carry the ball to those dangerous areas like, you know, Musiala or Verts. So you kind of just have like this weird little hybrid. I'm good at building the ball up, and if we're already dominating territory, I can get you that killer pass, but the actual like transitioning from one to the other, I can't do that for you, which is kind of compounded by the fact that Rice can do that. So, which is weird because you would think Rice would help with that, right? Like, but I also think part of it is because obviously when you play like a club like Arsenal, you're not going to give them space to run into. So it kind of sometimes just kind of compounds that issue, right? Because if Odegaard's not driving with the ball and you're not finding Rice to do that for you, like you're always just going to rely on Saka to do that because, you know, Martinelli is not a good ball carrier himself. So he's more like Martinelli is definitely more of a running on the end of the space type of winger, which they don't really utilize him in that sense anymore, partly because of a certain German man that came into the club. I know dudes don't like to talk about that. Because I think that's probably that's the main thing that they've missed Xhaka for, is having that extra bit of passing in the midfield 3. Whether it's, you know, him, you know, making the killer pass, or him, you know, making an overlap with, you know, Martinelli to open up more space. So I think they're just really missing that extra dimension in their attack, and that's kind of why they've been where they've been right now.
True.
Yeah, we said we agreed on tier 2. Then we have this bum ass club.
How do you feel about your manager saying that 5 to 10 years is when you guys can expect to win? 10 years, bro. Like, who do you think you are?
No, 10 years is wild, bro. Like the thing is, I can understand the sentiment, but like, no. First off, 10 years is insane, and then second, even if that were true, like you're the manager, you're not supposed to say that. So, because it's one thing if the fan's saying it.
Yeah. Or an analyst is saying, based off of the trajectory, we can see it in 10 years. But for the manager, whose goal should be to steward this team to success, for him to say, you're 10 years away, nah, bro. Nah. Nah. Not it.
I mean, I guess they have to be tier 4, right? Because they lost to freaking City. So
yeah, tier 4. But that's the thing. Kind of, but I think you're better than you.
Well, because this is a power ranking though, so it's
yeah.
not.
But even on power ranking, You're still above City. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure you won your last Prem game.
They did.
Yeah, you're still above City. You know, you're likely to beat Brighton again today because I think they kind of play to your strength. They're gonna play basketball today. So Palmer, expect like maybe 2 GA today. You know, so could be two wins in a row. You know.
That we will see. Because I mean, to be fair, I was always gonna like if it was up to me, I was gonna put City tier 3 anyway. But I don't think they're as trash as these bums that I see here. But it's more so a principle. Like if City have beaten these dudes twice and you have them tier 4, then by proxy, I have to put Chelsea here. Even though in my estimation, I'd probably put both of them in tier 3, but it is what it is. And then I mean, we're not really going to talk about these other clubs. If I were to quickly make an estimation on them, I'd probably put Lyon tier 4, only because again, like it really just depends. Like they're in better form than Monaco at the moment. I think they won their last Europa League game as well. But if Monaco has been more consistent than them over the course of the season, despite their recent frailties, Marseille have basically had the same season as Monaco, where they started off really well, kept up with PSG up until like end of October, and they sort of fell off, even though their attack is significantly better than Monaco's, because they have. We're not going to name who they have. They have a lot of interesting characters.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that's a good way to describe it. But you get the point.
Yeah, they have a lot of the degenerates. Yeah,
the YNs. Yeah, they got some YNs in there. Sevilla have been pretty mid the entire season, to be honest. And I think they're the most memorable game I can remember of them. They also lost, which was the 4-3 against Atletico. Schalke, they're not even in the top division. Galatasaray, I have nothing to say about them. Roma, I think they fired their manager in the beginning of the season. And I think they've been doing okay. Because I don't know if Rossi was this season or last season. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, Rossi was terrible. So they fired him after 4 games. They brought in a second manager who was kind of okay, but he didn't really do much. And then they brought in Claudio Ranieri, and they've been somewhat better, but they're still only in 9th place. But they do have ground to make up, but they have enough time to make it up if they can. So Valencia, they're finished. Like they're actually getting relegated. Like they're actually done with this. It's actually like I'm not gonna lie, it's the funniest thing because my lasting memory of Valencia is like like the current owner, the Peter Lim guy that hired Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Like I remember when the fans were doing like a protest, his daughter took to social media and then she was like, "Hello, Valencia CF fans." And she basically said, like, my family owns this club and we can do whatever we want with it or something like that.
Wow. Wow.
Like the part that made me laugh was the fact that she called it Valencia CF, bro. She used its whole like governmental name, bro.
Which means that she has no idea about like football, man.
Yeah, she just like look at the Wikipedia. Oh, Valencia CF. That's CF. That must be a part of the name, bro. That the usual nomenclature that the fans use, bro. I love it.
No, but I still think of Valencia as that team years ago when they had David Silva, David Villa, Fernando Morientes, Joaquin. They had a guy named Baraka. Like, bro, that Valencia team that used to finish top 4 when they lost to like United, I think it was in the quarters or round of 16 of the UCL. Like, they were a team. They had quality. So it's a shame that they're probably going down.
No, it really is, bro. Like we need more sleeping giants, man, to wake up. Because football is getting a bit boring, bro. We need some more superpowers in this sport, bro. Because I remember even as recently as like 2019, I think they finished top 4 and they beat Barcelona in the Copa del Rey. Because I think that was I don't remember Danny Parejo.
Yeah.
He's like a Spanish midfielder, but that was like his last game for them or whatever. He's a Spanish midfielder I rate very highly, but yeah. And then Benfica, I don't really have much to say on them. Same with Celtic. Everton look like they're not going to get relegated, so that's good for them.
Hope they get relegated.
Huh?
I hope they get relegated.
Yeah, it's probably not happening, bro. Have you seen those 3 relegation clubs, bro? Well, I mean, there's about 13 minutes left. So honestly, at this point, because I know the Chelsea game's going to start soon, I might just do like a little like 5, 6, 7 minute freestyle. So, do you have any footballing topics that has just interested you? That you want to touch?
I guess the freshest thing, Liverpool and Everton. I've seen a lot of people focus on the refereeing display and like all the mistakes that the ref made. Yeah, the ref made a lot of mistakes. I think both ways, but mostly against Liverpool. But honestly, this is my opinion. If we actually did our jobs, we win that game. Both instances, we didn't defend well, and that directly resulted in us conceding early and late in the game. Like, bro, that's on us. I'm sorry. That is on us. We let Salah down. It is what it is. We go again with still 7
We
points.
only had
At least we
6
didn't
shots this entire game. What the hell are we all doing?
bro. That's the thing. And man, it's so annoying. But it's so annoying.
All right,
But
Chris, tell me, is this rating system an accurate representation of what happened, or who should be bumped up or down based off of what? Because I didn't watch the game at all. I was
yeah.
I forgot what I was doing on Wednesday, but I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, Kunate and Van Dijk bumped him down. Bumped him down, bro. They should be on the fives. 5 point, like same as Allison. In fact, no, not even same as Allison, but okay, fair. Same as Allison. 5.8. Both of them to me. They weren't defending well at all, Like I don't remember any single moment that they defended well at all. And I think Mac and Salah were the only ones that were doing positive things throughout the game. The only ones, I guess Chobo was trying, but he didn't do anything in terms of offensively, like providing any intensity going forwards, any passes that create space or making runs that create space. He wasn't doing any of that. It was literally just Salah and Mac, but predominantly Salah. So yeah, I think it is reflective. Like the team didn't play well.
Oh, and some actual very recent is Man City. They won their case.
I saw. I don't remember what he said, but I saw someone. Let me look for it very quickly.
Yeah, because I have the an article pulled up about it. So it says that they went to tribunal and they deemed that the rules that the Premier League set in place they considered to be unlawful. So I'm trying to see here I'm trying to see what the exact rules were for the APT that, because I think all I remember about this was this made it so like Newcastle couldn't just like spend a bunch of money after they got the new owners or whatever.
But for as much as that, I think it might be like a minor win because yesterday the Prem also broke news that, and I'm looking at this now, the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules, which is the PSR, is going to remain in place next season. And that's part of the issue that their City are fighting against, So it's not like the 115 case, so to speak, but it's the issues that they're still fighting against in terms of what they want to spend.
But it's a bit funny, right? Because I think the first iteration of the PSR came in around like 2014 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think they said that they did this because of all the English clubs that had went bankrupt trying to overspend or something like that, and also to keep up with like the FFP rules. So where do you stand on like the PSR thing? Like, do you think it's necessary? Do you think clubs should just be allowed to spend whatever they want? And if you do think it's necessary, do you think it's been implemented in like the right way? Because I always hear like a lot of smaller club, like fans of small clubs talk about how like they basically can't do anything because if they try, then they're just going to get punished. And then if they don't do anything, then the bigger clubs are just going to get even more better than them they already are. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think I'm not a fan of the way it seems like the PSR stuff has been implemented. Where it's like Everton. Is it Everton? I think it was Everton, where they spent a little bit and they got punished, and they got punished immediately last season with deducted points mid-season. While there's a city who can spend so much, and their punishment is going towards a sentencing that they're going to implement 2 years from now, which is 2 years from now, speaking last season perspective. So they're gonna implement the punishment at the end of the season. So for smaller clubs, it's like they're punished immediately and they can't spend anything. And for the bigger clubs, they're also going to be punished, but it's like it's not to the same extent. And while they're punished, it's also they can't spend as much as they want to. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of it. I understand the idea of like trying to implement like a salary cap or a transfer cap that people should be spending moving forward and stuff. But I'm not a big fan of it. Not a big fan of it. To me, spend what you generate. And what City's doing in terms of creating these false sources of income, you should eradicate that, but spend what you generate. So if they're actually generating a lot of money, spend it. But what they're doing, which is they're creating these fake companies, offshore companies, and they're making them the sponsors, and that's how they're generating even more sources of income. I think that's the part of the grievances against City. But I think, in general, in a vacuum, spend what you generate. Spend what you generate.
It's a fair point. And then that's the last thing before we wrap up. What games are you going to be watching this weekend besides obviously whoever Liverpool are playing?
When I watch Leicester and Arsenal, I think I'm definitely going to watch City and Newcastle.
The time on my screen, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen.
No, I mean the time, like the time right here.
Yeah, so I think Leicester and Arsenal, that's 1:30 at my time.
Oh wow.
PM, 1:30 PM my time. So yeah, these games are very early, bro. That's crazy. But anyways, I might watch Leicester and Arsenal, but I'm definitely gonna watch City and Newcastle. And I think that's about it. I don't think I have an interest in watching any of these small teams, except for maybe Brentford, just to see Mbuemo. And maybe Bournemouth, maybe that. Outside of that, nah, I don't care about these other teams.
Oh, I think Bournemouth Southampton is a derby game, so
yeah.
It's just funny because I remember when Southampton were the better team between the two of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see, the Leverkusen Bayern game should be interesting because basically Leverkusen have to win, or the Bundesliga is done for them. Like they're finito because they're already like 8 points behind Bayern.
I already think it's done, even if they win. I already think it's done, but yeah, they do have to win.
Lazio, Napoli should be interesting because Napoli, like I think Napoli and both Napoli and Inter are going to be playing some stern opposition this weekend, so we're going to get a chance to see who's like.
Yeah, I was gonna say I also think Lazio. I think they're like one of 3 teams to have beaten Napoli this season. Let me see. I think they'd already lost to them.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they beat them in December.
Yeah, twice back to back because they beat them in the cup, and then 2 days later they beat them in the league.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
So Napoli, they're gonna have to really get their act together if they wanna, because like now they're especially gonna be kicking themselves because they drew with Roma last week, and I think Roma scored like a last minute equalizer. So Napoli had a chance to go like I want to say 4 points clear before Inter played against Fiorentina on Monday, and they failed to do that. So they need to bounce back in that sense.
They also after Roma they also drew to Udinese at home. So
okay, so I think it might be the one that they fumbled in the last second. I don't remember which one of the two it was.
Yeah, but winless in 3, it's a must win for them. They need to beat, and it's tough because it's the team that keeps beating them.
And then on Sunday, so y'all gonna be playing Wolves. We have the El Trachico between Tottenham and Man United. Betis Sociedad is gonna be an interesting game from a pure baller perspective. Like we just like watching like two teams that like just play well. Also, we're gonna see if what's his face is if Man United was really the problem. And then the marquee game for Sunday is definitely gonna be Juve versus Inter. So Cole Mwani, I need you to show up so people can put some respect on your name. Because if he shows up against them, then people are gonna stop calling. They're gonna see if this guy is actually a serious player because he hasn't really been doing much since Frankfurt. But I do think there's a good player in there though. And then Monday, I don't think there's anything big on Monday. I know Barcelona's playing, but I think Real Vallecano actually like have been pretty decent this year actually. And I remember they gave Real Madrid a game. They ended up drawing 3-3 with them. So they do have like some quality in them. So yeah, I think there's definitely some interesting games for this weekend. I want to thank you for shooting the shit with me for like 2 hours. I appreciate it. I'll definitely try to make this a more consistent thing. I just have to like etch it into my schedule, but yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you coming on. So, and hopefully, we'll have NK on next time as well, and hopefully AK can like stay longer as well too.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right. Have a good day. Actually, I think for you is what, like 10 right now?
Yeah.
That's wild. Crazy time zone. All right, bro. You be easy.
All right, brother. Peace out.